Welcome to the Disney Parks Podcast with your hosts, Tony Casanova from DisneyByTheNumbers.com and Parkhopper John from WDWParkhoppers.com. Keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast at all times. And get ready for the Disney Parks Podcast.
Have you ever come to Orlando and you're the person that has to make all the dining plans, all the fast passes, get all the tickets? Well, we have a service that can help you do this. This is the best service. They are themeparkconcierge.com. You can call them up at 407-257-9973. Tell them your plans. They'll send you a little profile, get some information about you and your traveling party, what you want to do, what you don't want to do. And then they can set up a custom plan for you. And they'll take you around the parks. They'll make the dining plans. They'll get the fast passes. They'll take you to Walt Disney World. They'll take you to Universal. They'll take you to Busch Gardens, to SeaWorld, to Legoland, to all of those places, and they will do all of the work for you. Contact them at themeparkconcierge.com. Check them out on Facebook at facebook.com/Ramon VIP Concierge, or email them at ramon@themeparkconcierge.com. I am telling you, you will not be disappointed. And if you tell them the Disney Parks Podcast sent you, you'll get 10% off your order.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Disney Parks Podcast. We have a tremendous show for you today. We have the filmmakers from the movie Floyd Norman, An Animated Life, which is now available on Blu-ray and is incredible. I've seen the movie. I'm a documentary nut anyway, and this movie was absolutely one of the best I've ever seen about a true Disney legend. They also have a contest called Floyder with Floyd, but we're going to get into all that and so much more when we introduce and welcome our friends Michael Fiore and Erik Sharkey. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Great.
Oh, gosh. So welcome to have you. Luckily, I didn't go into the, hey, it's Michael Fiore. You know, I didn't go crazy with it.
No,
you did it, though.
You did it in the end, so that's fine. I mean, that's how it's really supposed to be pronounced, so you did it. I'm happy.
Absolutely. You have no idea. We've had guests on the show, and I always say, pronounce your last name. They'll pronounce your last name, and inevitably, I screw it up every time. So, you know, let's
did great this time.
Yeah, I hear you. There's a lot of crazy last names out there that are hard to pronounce. So.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Before we get too deep into it, and we definitely will want to talk about the film, we definitely want to talk about Floyd. Give us a little bit of background on who you two gentlemen are, if you don't mind, please.
Sure. So this is Mike Fiore, and I own and operate a company by the name of Michael Fiore Films. It started back 10 years ago or so in both a mix of doc work, feature work, and commercial work. We have, besides the Floyd Norman documentary out right now, we have another movie coming out that I served as a producer on, coming out this year, called Keep Watching. Stars Bella Thorne, the former Disney star, and a bunch of other great actors, and that's coming out from Sony Screen Gems sometime this year.
Cool.
And my name is Erik Sharkey, and the last feature film I directed was actually a documentary called Drew, the Man Behind the Poster. And it was about a post artist named Drew Struzan, who did a lot of the Star Wars and Indiana Jones posters. He did the Back to the Future posters, and for that film, I got to interview George Lucas and Harrison Ford and Michael J. Fox, and there's a whole bunch of great people in it. And making that film about such a great artist like Drew is what led to me teaming up with Michael to make a movie about a Disney legend like Floyd Norman.
Now, I want to say that I've seen that documentary. I have one of his posters hanging up on my wall.
Oh, cool.
Which one?
Which one?
The Empire. No. Sorry, Revenge of the. I always say Revenge of the Nerds. Revenge of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi. Dadgum.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones he did for the original Return of the Jedi. When it was called Revenge of the Jedi, I'm always envious of people who have that poster where it says Revenge of the Jedi on it.
Yeah. So I'm a huge fan of that. So great stuff. I love the work that you do, even the things that you've done that are not in the Disney, quote unquote, Disney community. So thank you guys for being on the show. So
thank you.
Let's go ahead and start. Sorry, Tony.
No, go ahead.
I'll throw it out. Why don't you start off? We're going to get into the movie, but we want to hear a little bit about. What can you tell us about who Floyd Norman is, and for someone who might not know, why he's important to the Disney community?
Well, the best way to probably start this is just kind of where we enter into Floyd's life. It starts really with Erik meeting Floyd back in the summer of 2013 at the San Diego Comic-Con. Because at that point, neither one of us really knew who Floyd was.
I mean, when I was introduced to him, I mean, I knew he was a Disney legend, but I didn't know why he was a Disney legend.
Right.
And when we started talking, he just started telling me stories about, like, working on Sleeping Beauty and working on The Jungle Book. And what really floored me is when he casually brought up working with Walt Disney on The Jungle Book, because I was like, I've never met anyone who worked with Walt Disney before. And The Jungle Book was my favorite Disney movie as a kid. But he had this long history of working at Hanna Barbera and then working for Pixar, and he was so charismatic. I remember after that conversation just telling him, oh, my God, I'd love to make a documentary about you, you know, and we had started talking about it for a while, and then I met Michael, and Michael had just come off of producing a movie and was looking to make another movie, and luckily, Michael wanted to make the movie too, and we teamed up and started shooting right away, actually.
Yeah, Erik and I had never worked together, but we knew of each other through our mutual friend and music composer Ryan Shore. And so I'd heard of Erik's name because Ryan had done the music for the Drew Struzan documentary. And so I got his information, Erik's information, from Ryan, and I cold called him and made an introduction and just said, coming off this other movie, looking to get another movie started right away. Do you have any ideas? And he pitched me a handful of things, and one of the stories was Floyd's. And I had never heard of Floyd. And so, you know, it hit me like a bolt of lightning. That was like, nobody's made a movie about this man. This makes no sense to me. So Erik and I met over the course of like 4 or 5 weeks twice, had coffee, lunch, kind of just felt each other out. You know, how could we collaborate together? What was the story we wanted to tell? And then really, like, within 4 to 5 weeks of the first time we talked, we were out in Pasadena at Floyd's home filming. And what was really interesting was, you know, we kind of knew all the basics about Floyd. We went in there kind of saying this guy more or less is like the Forrest Gump of animation. And that's said lovingly because he's not like some oafy guy that stumbles into things. He makes very conscious choices. But Floyd has been a part of so much in animation history, and not just animation history, but American history, that in many ways he's like Forrest Gump. So we went in there kind of knowing the breadth of his work, starting as the first African-American animator, storyman, artist at Disney in 1956. And we knew all the little stages in between, ending with his retirement when he was 65 years old from Disney. And he had just closed out work at Pixar working on Monsters Incorporated. He had also worked on Toy Story 2. So we knew the breadth of his life. What we didn't realize, the big hook of the movie was going to be, was ageism. Because what we started to learn was that his retirement at 65 was not by choice. He was forced retired. It was basically a company edict. And so his story evolved for us throughout the process of getting to know him and making the movie.
It was, you know, it's interesting. The way you guys start the movie, you just don't start with, hey, this guy was born, yada, yada. It's not like this biological documentary chronologically through his life. You kind of mix it up a little bit. You're moving, you know, between the different times and the different things. It almost looks like you were just tagging along with him, and you just brought a camera.
Well, I think one of the great things is that people that know Floyd say the movie really represents Floyd really well. Luckily, he's so outgoing and he loves sharing these stories. So he gave us great access to follow him and film it. Like we walked around with him on the Disney lot. That was like the second day of shooting. We're with Floyd Norman on the Disney lot, walking around the animation building. And he's telling us these amazing stories because he's one of the few people that has these stories, that can talk about what Disney was like in the 50s and the 60s. You could talk about working with Walt Disney and how he's seen the company change over all these years. And he gave us such great access, and we were also lucky that so many great people that wanted to talk about Floyd because they're so inspired by him. You know, people like Richard Sherman and Whoopi Goldberg and Don Hahn. But yeah, I mean, we filmed so much. He gave us so much access, and one of the things that we had to do was really build a narrative and tell a story when having like hours and hours of footage.
Well, what was incredible to me watching the movie, because I watch a lot of, like I said, I watch a lot of documentaries, and there's always that this is the stance that we're going to take, and the story that we're going to tell is sometimes it feels like prejudged. This is the point we're going to make. What, you know, we're going to fit the story around it. And as we got deeper into the story, watching the Floyd Norman story, when it was like, oh, he was the first African-American animator. And I was like, okay, so this is going to be a race story. And then, and I can't remember his name, his friend, you were interviewing he and Floyd at the same time. He said ageism. And that's when it turned a corner. And I was like, that is an amazing story to tell about Disney. And it was shocking to hear.
Yeah. I mean, everyone goes into the movie thinking race. Every time we've ever been at a Q&A in a theater, people came in with this preconceived notion that the dramatic hook, the dramatic conflict would be race. And everyone is so pleasantly surprised because obviously racism is a huge issue, but ageism is universal. We're all going to get old. It doesn't matter what color you are. We're all going to get old. And at some point, the number on our birth certificate is going to either be too high or we'll be too old at that point for someone to say, you're worthwhile to us. Stay around. Instead, it's, no, we don't have any need for you anymore. So, yeah, I think it becomes animation on its own is very universal. But, you know, there's the dramatic hook of the movie. You know, ageism just is such a universal theme that it really attracted the audiences in a big way. Right. And I think in an unexpected way.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, man. No, it's just like Floyd is the first African-American artist at Disney, but he never set out to be that. And he was just somebody who grew up on Disney films and loved animation. He loved art. And he pursued his dream, and then he happened to be the first black animator at Disney. But and again, he always talked about how he trained under the 9 Old Men, which are like the original animators that did Snow White, and he trained under the best of the best. And he had such a great experience working with Walt Disney, someone he really admired. So it was, and the fact that he had such a long career at the company, we were surprised that, like, wow, really? They made you retire when you have this long history with the company, and that's when we realized this is going to be a major part of the film.
Right. And while there are these themes of ageism, for your audience listening, just so we don't confuse anybody, this is a really fun movie. And I'm sure you guys can attest to this. It seems like it's weighty based on us talking about ageism, but it's really, you know, Erik and I love documentaries ourselves and watch so many, and we constantly joke and say, when did documentaries become the genre that needs to be so sad and depressing? Like, why can't there be happy, fun documentaries? Like, of all the ones that I saw this year, we were like the only one that was happy.
Right.
So for anyone that wants to watch a happy doc, here we are.
And nobody dies in this movie.
No. And Floyd looks at life in a humorous way because Floyd's, you know, a cartoonist, and he loves animation. So he looks at life in a funny, satirical way. So we also have all these great animated segments in the film where Floyd actually did gags based off his life, and animators came in to animate these segments to show these stories from his life through his point of view, through the way he looks at things through humor.
Yeah, it was great. Those were good too. And so he set up the gags, and then other people came in. So he didn't do the animation on those.
Right. So basically, Erik and I sat down, watched a cut of the movie, always knowing we were going to put animation into it, but we were trying to figure what's the best way to use it. And we realized very quickly that in many ways it was a great substitute to, like, the lack of B-roll we might have for particular stories.
Sure.
Just because maybe the archival didn't exist. And also, just from a storytelling perspective, the animation could elevate the humor in certain moments. So we sat down, we picked 25 to 30 moments, sent those little clips to Floyd, and like in a week's time, he turned around like 25, 30 of these quick draw single sketches. And that informed our 10 or so animators that were all around the world to use Floyd's gag not only as a like a character design map, but also to help create the narrative. And one of the things we actually have on our Blu-ray, which is one of my favorite bonus features, is a side-by-side comparison. So you get to see Floyd's single image gag, and then it cross-dissolves into the piece of animation that it informed. And what you really see is that Floyd is in every one of these animations, and the animators did such a tremendous job of making sure they maintained Floyd's like stroke, essentially. It really feels like Floyd's gag coming to life.
Nice. So before you guys got too deep into this, were you actually Disney people?
Absolutely.
Yeah, oh yeah, I definitely grew up on Disney. I was lucky in my neighborhood. I'm from New York City, and in my neighborhood in the Bronx, when I was a little kid, they did a revival of all the original Disney animated films, so I got to see them all in the theater, like one week after another. And I just remember what an impression that made. And like I said, Jungle Book was my favorite, so I never thought, in my life I'd end up meeting Floyd, who was such an instrumental part of the Jungle Book, and then we get to make a movie about him, so it was amazing. So
how was it like as people in the industry being able to walk on, the Walt Disney lot and being able to walk around and see the immense history that was just encircling you?
I always say it's the pinch me moment. It's like, it's cool enough to be on the lot, but then you turn and you look at Erik, and we both look over and see Floyd as our tour guide, and you go, okay, this is really cool. It's one thing to just be on the lot, but that Floyd Norman be your tour guide's pretty special. Yeah, it's amazing because he has those first-hand stories. He'd literally be like, oh, yeah, and this is where we did Sleeping Beauty, and oh, yeah, this is where Walt's office was, and being able to go to Walt's original office, which was a part of the contest where the Floydering contest, the winner, Tiffany, she got to Floyder with Floyd, and we went to Walt Disney's original office. And so it's amazing to hear these stories firsthand and to walk around the lot with Floyd for sure. When we first went to the lot with Floyd, which was like March 2014, we were operating really as just Erik and I. We didn't have any additional crew, and we were going there really very undercover in the sense that we weren't getting permission from Disney. There was no conversation with Disney yet, and we were in such the early stage of just kind of getting to know Floyd, trying to get as much stuff on tape that we could, so that we kind of had a full understanding of his story. So nobody really gets to film on the Disney lot. It's pretty much unheard of. So we were very strategic in that we were shooting with the Canon 5D SLR, which it just looks like a regular still camera. And Erik was asking the questions of Floyd, and I was shooting. And it was really funny because somebody came up to Floyd a couple days later and said, oh, I saw they were doing a photo shoot with you. And Floyd laughs and goes, no, they're doing a documentary. So no one had any idea that we were filming, because that is just not allowed.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
it's a closed lot, and they're pretty strict about, who comes on and who does not.
Oh, yeah, but when you're filming with Floyd so blatantly out in the open, people just assume you're supposed to be there, and luckily later on, Disney actually did let us film pitch meetings that Floyd did, pitching storyboards for a thing he was doing for 101 Dalmatians Blu-ray, and so that is a real peek behind the curtain, because Disney rarely gets permission to shoot internal creative meetings, so the fact they let us do that was amazing.
Yeah, there was a point where, you had to let yourself be known to Disney. And it was, very strategic and like, let's do as much as we can, and then there's a point where you have to announce yourself. And I went in to try to pre-sell the movie to Disney so that they could be a part of it. And interestingly, after I met with one of the executives, he talked to marketing, and it's going to seem shocking at first, but then it kind of makes sense. They said, we don't see any commercial value in this. And it makes sense in the sense that they're not making documentaries. Documentaries don't tend to make a ton of money. And they also don't pull back the curtain on the creatives that are at Disney. It's kind of all about the Walt Disney image rather than the individual artist. So, once they were aware of us on the executive level, as going back to what Erik was saying about filming the 101 Dalmatians piece, which is in the documentary, they realized that there could be a synergy between our production and some of their needs. So they basically said, look, you filmed this 101 Dalmatians pitch meeting that Floyd's going to be a part of, and you can have access to things that you need, and we're going to use that footage for our own thing, but you can use it for your documentary. So in the end, it all worked out very nicely. It was one of those things where in the beginning, you kind of tiptoe because you really don't know what kind of access they're going to give, or because they're just such a big company, are they going to shut you down and go, well, we don't want this being made at all. So we did a very good job, I think, of making sure everybody was happy in the end.
And it's interesting that they were just kind of, at first just go, yeah, never mind, we don't need that stuff, that documentary. But I'm glad they got on board because it turned out well. So,
thank you.
Yeah, so you guys have a long list of, famous people in the movie, and I guess, people that wanted to be part of this. How did you go about, filming them all, tracking them down, getting, the time to, be with them, like Whoopi and all the other, Don Hahn and all the other people that are in here?
Well, it starts with, I was just going to say, and I'll be quick on this, what we shot in those initial days was the most important thing, because you can take those 2 to 3 days you work with Floyd, cut it into a sizzle reel. For people that don't know what that is, it's like an extended trailer. And you can use that so that the A-listers in the bunch, like Don Hahn or Whoopi Goldberg or Richard Sherman, they have something to see. Now, in the case of a Don Hahn and a Richard Sherman, and Erik can speak to this, they know Floyd. And, a lot of our success came out of the fact that so many people in the movie do know Floyd.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it, is because Floyd has worked with pretty much everybody. I mean, you name a film or project, and he's been a part of it in some way. So if you've worked at Disney at all, or Hanna Barbera, anything, you've dealt with Floyd or worked with Floyd. So, Richard Sherman, he worked with on The Jungle Book, and Don Hahn, he had worked with on films, and Gary Trousdale, who was the director of Beauty and the Beast, the animated film, actually Floyd gave him his first job. So all these people knew of Floyd, and they loved him so much that they wanted to be in the film, and gave us such great interviews, because they had such great insight into him, having worked with him and known him for so long.
Yeah, the Scarlett Johansson birthday video, was that something you guys arranged or something that his family had arranged?
Yeah, that had nothing to do with us, actually. Okay. We had just, if I remember correctly, we had been in town filming him, and then we came back to New York, and through a colleague, or maybe it was Adrian, they mentioned that they were going to do this. And we were bummed because we couldn't be there to film it. So it's actually someone the footage you're seeing in that moment in the documentary is actually taken from somebody's cell phone, because we couldn't be there, which actually is better in hindsight, because Floyd totally would have known something was up if Erik and I are standing there with cameras.
He really was surprised, and he has a major crush on Scarlett Johansson, so he was over the moon that she sang happy birthday to him.
Yeah. Said every man on planet Earth, by the way.
Yeah, I hate you both. So, just, I'm done. So, does she smell pretty? No, I'm kidding. Sorry, that was great. So what was your, okay, so Scarlett Johansson aside, what was your favorite part about Make Norman?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked us that, actually.
Yeah, that's actually the first. I mean, I know one highlight for me definitely is shooting on the Disney lot. It was like Michael was saying, to be on that lot with that history and to be with somebody who lived through all that history and can tell you those firsthand stories was really amazing, because that was the first time we had ever been with Floyd on the lot, and there's just so much history, and like I said, everywhere he points, there's a story about the Nine Old Men or Walt or a classic film. So that was definitely a highlight.
Yeah, mine's kind of an overall as well, in the sense that, riffing off of what Erik was saying, is that there was. The highlight for me was every time you thought you would like drain the Floyd Norman well of stories, all of a sudden you realize, oh, this is like totally bottomless, because, you know, you're like packing up for the day and you close the trunk because, you know, all the camera gear is away and you're saying your goodbyes, and then all of a sudden he busts out like the most amazing thing where you're like, Floyd, we just had the cameras on. Why didn't you tell us? That's an amazing story. So that's why when you watch the movie, you see us with Floyd in so many different locations, because we knew that this was an onion that, like, you know, was deeper than 5, 6, 7, 8 layers. You were going to keep pulling things back and finding more. So we kept revisiting with Floyd every couple of weeks.
Wow.
Oh, definitely. And watching him draw was amazing, too. We shot, that was actually our first day of shooting. He spent the whole day at the drawing board drawing for us, and it's always great being like a master, just do these drawings, and they're so beautiful. And they're so fast. I mean, you can knock out a drawing of Goofy in like 5 seconds. It's incredible.
If your audience haven't been yet, check out his blog online, because pretty much every day he posts not only amazing stories, but he also posts these beautiful watercolor sketches that he does that are just mind-blowing. I mean, he's nearing 82 years old, and I joked with somebody the other day, he just had double cataract surgery like maybe a couple months ago, and his art has actually gotten even better, and that's mind-blowing to me because it was already amazing. So it's like this man only gets better with time.
I was watching, I think Disney did a Quick Draw live YouTube video with him. And that was a lot of fun. I mean, he was answering questions and just nonchalantly, just drawing, you know, blindly. I was like, I don't think I can walk and talk at the same time. Never mind, draw and talk at the same time. You know, it was amazing to watch. And I think if you blindfolded him, he could probably still draw well.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've always said, like, Floyd should have a show.
Oh,
I mean, he's equal parts, you know, artist and showman. And I think some of Walt's definitely rubbed off on him, as well as a bunch of the Nine Old Men, because a lot of those guys were real showmen also. And I think he kind of learned from the best that even though you're somebody who's behind the scenes, that it's still show business. And he definitely embodies that.
Do you have any fun stories maybe that didn't make it to the film that you might want to tell us about?
Well, we had hours of footage of shooting the Floyd's animation lunch. They do this lunch every Friday where they all get together, and we film these great Hanna Barbera animators and story guys all talking, and they make fun of each other and they bust each other's chops, and they tell the real deal about working for Hanna Barbera. That's like, he had to work fast and cheap, and they would draw on both sides of a piece of paper, you know, so they wouldn't waste the other side. And that's one of the things on the Blu-ray that's amazing is that we have an extended version of that, because there was so much great stuff that we couldn't put it all in the movie, you know. But listening to those guys just cracked me up.
Yeah, I mean, between those guys and the relationship that Floyd has with Leo, there's some really great moments that you just can't put in because of time. And so 2 of the additional bonus features on the Blu-ray, Erik mentioned one, an extended cut with the folks at the Animators Lunch, which is just such funny content. We also have extended moments with Leo that does a little deeper dive on their relationship, because we really couldn't go into the nitty-gritty of a lot of the different projects they worked on together. I mean, that's the challenge of making documentary, is that there is so much good stuff. You know, when Erik and I first sat down, we had a 3-hour cut of the movie, and the challenge becomes, okay, right now we have an hour. The first hour is all about his first 10 years at Disney. You could conceivably make a movie just about those 10 years.
Right.
Or you could make a movie just completely about his relationship with Leo Sullivan. Or, you know, there's just so many different angles. So, you know, in the end, you have to just commit. And fortunately, Erik and I feel like we've made the right choices. And oftentimes I'll say this to Erik, the way I feel validated is they always say, you know, if you want to know how, if your movie is successful, don't watch the movie, watch the audience. And every time we've been fortunate enough to go to a theater where there's, you know, a screening with an audience, they tell us we made the right choices, and we're thankful for that.
I mean, you could have pulled a James Cameron and released all 3 hours. Nobody would have minded. We're used to it now.
If there's a big enough audience for it, if we were getting enough requests, I would certainly put that out. I think, you know, it'd be very rough around the edges because it didn't get, you know, there was no soundtrack at that point and no color correction. But if you just want content, well, we have a lot of it.
Tell us about the reaction from the people and how the movie's been received since it's come out.
Oh, we've gotten a great reception to it. I mean, like Michael was saying, like when we first started screening the movie and we saw people laughing and cheering and how they left so inspired, it just made us feel so great. And then when the reviews came in, the reviews were fantastic. We got great reviews from the New York Times and the LA Times, and we're just getting great feedback from it, and it just makes us so happy that more people are learning about Floyd and his art, and that they're feeling inspired by it.
You know, you're making an impact when you go on social media and you see kids that are in middle school for their school projects dressing up as Floyd Norman and telling Floyd's story. Wow. That is the seal of approval on your storytelling. Right. And again, that we can't even take credit for that. I mean, it's that Floyd's story is impactful. We're thrilled that we could be the two guys to champion it. And again, I said this at the outset, I'm still shocked that nobody else beat us to the punch because it's a wonderful story. But again, you know, Erik and I are so thankful to Floyd and Adrian to let us into their lives. And, you know, it's funny in the evolution of all of our relationships. You know, when we first went into their home, they were very welcoming and warm. But, you know, Adrian protects Floyd. You see it in the movie, and she acts as his manager. And, you know, when we first went into their house, I'll never forget, we sat down, and Adrian sat in front of us and just very pointedly said, "Why do you want to make a movie about Floyd?" She wanted to know what our intentions were, and it was the right question. And I think over the course of the next couple of weeks or even a couple months, she realized that this was not a money grab for us. This was about telling an important story the right way and to get it to the biggest audience. And what's great is you cut to now 3 years later, and now we're like family. You know, if we don't see each other for a few weeks and we get together for an event with the movie, you know, we're all hugging and saying hello. And, you know, that's even bigger to me than making the movie. Yeah. That now, you know, we have this great relationship that will last. It's really great. Right.
It was a huge relief when Floyd and Adrian loved the movie, because those are the people we definitely didn't want to let down after they were so generous to open up our lives to us. So we were so psyched when they loved it, you know.
You kind of make a point. I mean, you know, you want to tell the story about, you know, this great Disney legend, this great person. Do you guys have plans maybe to find some more Disney legends out there and maybe do some more documentaries? Because this is great. I'd love to see more.
Again, something that was part of the initial pitch that I made to that executive, was when they first came back and they didn't see value in Floyd's story. They always tell you with any good producer or any good pitch, when you're in the room, have your quick alternate idea. And the quick alternate idea was, okay, well, if it's not Floyd story you're interested in. What if we make a series? So Floyd is one of many stories. And I came at it with exactly what you're proposing, of basically like a legend series. Yeah. But they came back with the same response. Our hope, and Erik and I have talked about this, is that this movie, along with a couple other docs that have come out in the last 5 or so years, some folks that were behind the scenes at Disney, we're hoping that there's a realization at the corporate level of this is important. People want to hear this stuff. So hopefully it opens a door to more docs on Disney folks, and in particular the Disney legends. Because like you, Erik and I would totally be up for watching them and or making them.
I mean, there are so many Disney artists that deserve to be for more people to know about them, that have contributed so much to Disney films, and I mean all these great story people and animators and conceptual artists. I mean, there's so many brilliant people that have contributed to these films that it would be great to shine a spotlight on them.
Yeah. And a lot of them are not getting younger; they're getting older. And they, you know, if we don't capture their stories now, it'll be too late, you know, because we'd all love to hear the story, but it'd also be great to hear it from, you know, them, much like this, you know, like Alice Davis and Extensio. Those people are getting old. They're not getting younger.
Well, that was part of the reason when Erik and I first met, you know, we kind of laid out a couple potential plans of either seeking investors or I would self-finance. And I always said to him, let's go with a plan of like, I'll guarantee the financing if we can't find someone, but let's do this right now. Now, at the time, we hadn't met Floyd, or Erik had at Comic-Con. I had not. Erik hadn't seen him in probably 8 months or so. So it was one of those scenarios where it's like, it's a question mark. You're basing, again, on age. You go, okay, he's 78 years old. Like, time may be of the essence. Now, here's the thing. The first day we sat down with him and we were over at Disney Publishing to film him drawing, he walks out, and Erik and I kind of, like, thought it was him. He was probably, like, 1,000 feet away. And because he had that hat on, but he was still a distance away. And he had a walk, a step, that was so youthful and so cool. I mean, it's cooler than any step I could ever put together for myself. But we were like, is that him? No, that can't be him. And then he got closer, and we're like, oh, my God, this guy is so young. It's insane. Yeah. So, I mean, Floyd's going to be with us forever. He's going to outlive me, I'm sure.
Yeah, he was hard to keep up with at Comic-Con. He was walking really fast. He just jets around San Diego Comic-Con. So filming him, it was hard to keep up with him, you know. But, but you're totally right. Like, there's a lot of these people of that era. They're getting up there, and they are the last of this great tradition of animation. They're the last people that have these great stories, you know. So it's great that Floyd, even though he is in his 80s, he acts like he's a teenager. You know, he's still youthful. He's like a child at heart. He still loves this stuff. So it was great to be able to film him and get this now at this point in his life, you know.
Well, it's great for the Disney fans to hear the stories, but, you know, Tony and I and all of our, you know, Disney nerd friends, when we all get together, we talk about, like at D23, we sat down and listened to, you know, 5 living Disney legends. And, you know, we realized that as we get farther and farther away from Walt Disney, who passed away in, 65?
66.
Yes, that's 66. Yeah. As we get farther and farther away, everything at Disney World is different. Everything at Disneyland is different. How they treat the guests, how everything is run is evolving. And as we get farther away from Disney and the corporation, you know, we start to forget, you know, who Walt Disney was and why Disney was so important. Yeah. And these legends, you know, like Floyd telling these stories, like I felt crushed when here's this man who has created so many timeless things for the Walt Disney Company, for them to look at him and say, yeah, you're too old. We don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
And I cannot believe that would happen. It's heartbreaking. So yeah, between you guys and all of your friends and cohorts who do documentaries, there's such a rich history that really should and needs to be chronicled. You guys are, we're hoping against hope that Disney's doing it, but you guys are like the last frontier for great content with all of these guys. So, please spread the word.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
No, thank you so much for saying that and for spreading the word about our film so more people can know about people like Floyd,
Absolutely. So let me flip it over and ask a crazy question. What is this business with a contest called Floyder with Floyd? Say that 10 times fast.
In the movie, yeah, exactly. Floyder and Floyd. That's a tongue twister. In the movie, for those who have not seen it, there's a term called floydering. It's the makeup of two words, Floyd and the word loitering. Together, they make floydering. And basically, it was a term invented by someone at Disney after Floyd was forced retired in 65 and decided, I'm not leaving. I'm still going to come to work every day. But he said, well, Floyd, you're floydering. So it's basically the act of hanging out but in a very Floyd-specific way. So we have a contest we're doing in coordination with our Blu-ray, where if you visit our website, floydnormanmovie.com, purchase a Blu-ray, take a photograph of yourself, as we say, floydering with your Blu-ray. So, hanging out somewhere with your Blu-ray, hashtag the photo floydering, FLOYDERING, post it on social media and we'll find it. And then we're going to pick one person at random to bring to Burbank, California, to the Disney lot, to have lunch with Floyd, and then he's going to give you a tour of the lot. And Erik can talk about we actually awarded somebody, our first pass at the competition about 6 weeks ago, and Erik can tell you more about that.
Yeah, the winner was Tiffany. She's from San Francisco, and she's an artist, and she's pursuing a career in animation. So she came out to the Disney lot with Floyd. We walked around the Disney lot. We walked around the animation building. We had lunch in the commissary, and the most amazing thing was that Floyd took her and us to Walt Disney's original office, where they've kept it preserved from the day that he died. So everything in there is original, just the way he had it when he was there. And it was just an amazing experience, because you could just see how inspired she got by hearing these stories and by actually being in Walt Disney's office. And Floyd, vouched for it. He said, no, everything's just like how it was when I used to visit,
Wow.
So it really is a one-of-a-kind experience to be on the Disney lot with a Disney legend and to walk around and get these stories firsthand. So,
and if your listeners want to, if they just go to floydnormanmovie.com, there are hyperlinks to our various social media networks on the upper right of the page. They can click on any one of them, and they can actually see video footage and photos from Tiffany's Floydering Day with Floyd, so they can see what they could potentially win. And you really get a sense of how special this is, because that tour of Walt's office, that's not open to the public. It takes a guy like Floyd knocking on the right doors to get you in there.
It's crazy. I've only seen pictures of it, so I'm sure it was spectacular.
It was a lot of fun.
It's a time capsule, man. Yeah. You go back in time. It's like you're back in the 60s. Yeah.
So tell everybody where they can buy the movie and how they can get their little mitts on it.
Yeah, just going to floydnormanmovie.com. It's that easy. It's the one place to get it. And like I said, all our social media outlets are hyperlinked on there as well. But definitely start on floydnormanmovie.com for your whole purchasing and kind of experience of the movie.
Yeah, and the artwork on the Blu-ray was done by Drew Struzan, who did all those great Star Wars and Indiana Jones posters. You get great cover art as well.
Wow. I was wondering if that was the case, because I'm literally looking at it while you guys were talking, and I was like, man, that looks strangely familiar. So,
and it's awesome. It's a really special image too, because Erik introduced Drew and Floyd very early on in our making of the movie, and they've become very fast friends between Floyd and Adrian and Drew and his wife Dylan. And on Floyd's 80th birthday, Drew, as a gift, created that image of Floyd. So that was his 80th birthday gift. So it has even more meaning in that it's kind of the image that marks his 80th birthday on the box.
You documentary guys think of everything.
We didn't even think of that. That just happened.
Don't give it away. Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
Drew painted it. But he was gracious enough to let us use it because, having Drew artwork on a movie you made is fantastic. He did the Goonies and Big Trouble in China and, Back to the Future. So, Floyd is so excited. He's like, oh, Drew paints, Han Solo and me. So
nice. Is there any other things you guys would like to share as we kind of close out here tonight?
Just the importance of sharing Floyd's story. If you're moved by the movie, take 1 or 2 minutes, go online, mention to people, hyperlink to Floyd's page. Like let your friends and family know the importance of this man, not only in the history of Black history, but also the history of animation. We can only do so much through our outlet, but we hope that, the movie is catching fire with new folks that never heard of him. And that's the power of social media. If those people then go tell others. So that definitely would be something I'd recommend. Share the story if you're really moved by it.
Well, you know where to get the movie? It's FloydNormanMovie.com. And I highly recommend everybody go out there and check it out because it is, if you're a Disney fan, you'll love it. If you're an artist, you'll love it. And if you just, want to see a Disney legend doing his thing, it's something fascinating to watch. So go check it out. And as we'd like to say around here, we'll see you in the parks.
The Disney Parks Podcast is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company. All Disney parks, attractions, lands, shows, event names, etc. are registered trademarks of the Walt Disney Company.
Like a bolt out of the blue, fate steps in, I see